Welcome to our Wafer Paper Friday. Thank you so much for joining me. Goal here for our Wafer Paper Fridays is to work together or have fun together or practice certain techniques, and I wanted to make wafer paper hydrangeas, and that's what I'm going to work on today. The question of the day: what is your drink of choice and where you're watching us from? So today I have two drinks. This is my second coffee, and of course I have my water. But this is going to be an experiment because in my wafer paper book we do have hydrangeas, and hydrangea is page 22. So we do have hydrangeas, and I have like 3 or 4 different tutorials for hydrangeas. But today I wanted to try something else because even though all of these hydrangeas are beautiful, I love them, I make them all the time, I wanted to make, like, you know, those huge hats of hydrangeas, and I cannot imagine making every single flower by hand and just like managing to do that. So I'm going to use wafer paper, and I wanted to try different techniques using a craft punch. This craft punch is called hydrangea. You can use a cutting machine if you're a member of the Wafer Paper Academy. Usually we have TVS files or like cutting files for everything, and if you need one for hydrangea, just let me know. But like the one I wanted to I'm excited because I have an idea, and I'm crossing my fingers that this idea is going to work. Because if that idea will work, I will be able to make like beautiful flower arrangements with like huge hats of hydrangeas. So I'm just like crossing my fingers because, as you know, Fridays is our time to play, to experiment, to just have fun. Because first of all, it's fun to play with wafer paper in the company of other people and not to do everything by myself. And the other thing is just I am getting very excited about playing with wafer paper. So this color or this craft punch is called Hydrangea by EK Tools. So you can go on Amazon. I have it linked on my website, and on my website you can go to, let me put it in the chat. So okay, my laptop just went. So it's floriacakes.com/tools, and I have this color link, so you should be able to find on Amazon. But if something, it's called EK. See, this is the name of the brand, EK Tools, and it's called like 5 hydrangea punch. So this is what I'm going to use here. But first thing I wanted to make is I wanted to make the shape. Okay, so the idea is, again, if you join us live, let me know what you're drinking. I see that some of you is from Crawford, New York, Quebec City, and drinking water. Okay, so coffee in Canada. Okay. I'm coffee, water, in South Carolina. And so I have like a lot of scraps of wafer paper. You can see this one is a little bit kind of used. So I wanted to use all of that because I wanted to have in different shades. My goal, like, stay with me. My goal, my idea, I wanted to make it on a wire, but maybe I will, for that, I will use like 20 gauge wire or something relatively thick, because I expect that to be relatively heavy. So I will take a whole width floral wire. This is 20 gauge, and make decent hole. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm experimenting with you. What I was thinking, because we have hydrangeas here, I live in South Carolina, and hydrangeas are in full bloom everywhere. There is a type of hydrangea, it's called strawberry hydrangea, and they have these heads. They are in the shape of a strawberry, and the colors are from like light green to pink to white, so all the different shades. And I thought, what if we will take a piece of wafer paper, and you know, I'm here for you to experiment and to try all the different things, to have fun. So what if we take a piece of wafer paper and we fold it like in maybe sort of like what I'm thinking is to make a cone out of wafer paper. So that's what I'm doing. And I have just wafer paper, a pair of scissors, and I made a little bit of wafer paper glue. Because if this idea will work, it might save us a lot of time. So I'm thinking, what if I'll make like a little cone out of wafer paper, like to twist it and to make it like in a shape. So then I can set it aside to dry, and then we can glue all the little flowers onto that thing. So what I'm going to do is to use a little bit of a steamer. So this is my handheld steamer or mini mister, and you can use regular steamer, you can use just like boil a pot of water, but I wanted to make this just a touch more flexible. Then I can give it more shape. I think even like spraying with water might be a better option. Or even if you live like in a humid climate, it's 44% humidity. In a humid climate, you might spray it with vodka. So for this application, we actually need to have a firmer structure. So if you know, I don't like using vodka with wafer paper because it makes wafer paper rock hard. And for this particular application, that might be a good thing to do. So, okay, can I fold it? Okay, so I can fold it like in a cone shape, like a wafer paper cone shape like this, and see if I can apply a touch of wafer paper glue. Let's switch it to this camera. So this is what I'm doing. I have my cone of wafer paper, like a triangular shape of wafer paper, and I will take a little bit of wafer paper glue to apply here on one side. So you can see this is my wafer paper, my glue. Let's see, I'll use this brush. So I will try to shape it on itself and like turn it into a wafer paper cone. Okay. Wafer paper glue works for everything as usual. But I wanted to put my wire in. And for that, I will place my wire inside. So you can see I have my wire here in the middle. And I'm going to like fold it over and shape it on itself, basically. Because I want my wire to stay here on the top. Oh, we can make it beautiful. Like that. Okay, so this is what I have here for now. And I need to do the same to close the bottom part. So I will take even more wafer paper glue. And wafer paper glue is beautiful to work with wafer paper because it's going to make it very sticky. But it dries relatively fast and it's not going to disturb your wafer paper as much. Okay, let's see. I want my wire to be in the middle because this is going to be the center of my hydrangea. Come on, behave. Okay, wafer paper, you need to behave. Okay, do you get the idea? You see what I'm making? Because if this will work, all we have to do is to cover that in lots and lots of wafer paper little hydrangeas without placing every single one on the wire. And again, it's just an experiment. I have little to no expectations. I'm just testing my ideas here with you. But I need to make this first because this thing would have to dry for a little bit before we can apply flowers, but we will have enough time to make flowers. So that's where I'm at. See what I'm saying? It looks like a base for our hydrangea. So I'm just like playing that in my hands with touch of wafer paper glue, making sure it's going to stay all together. So, okay, not bad for the first try. Not bad. And I'm doing this for the first, this is just the idea I'm testing here live with you. So I will place it probably upside down to dry, and I will make a hook, a smaller hook, and I will just like hang it upside down to dry, and then we can work on our hydrangeas and cut all our petals. Yes, this is EK Tools hydrangea. If you go on my website, I have it linked on my website. So that's what I'm going to use today. I have a lot of different scraps of wafer paper that I wanted to use up. I have a touch of green, I have pink, and I have like a lot of different colors that I wanted to use before coloring any other colors, any other shades. Okay, so for my hydrangeas, I will use just a few different shades of pink. Some of these hydrangeas I make when I make cake designs, like the one I have behind me, or you saw on my Instagram. I make this flower salad. They look like this. These are like 5 petals. Most of them are 5 petals, but most of the time when I cut my hydrangeas, I just place them in a little bags like this. So I have quite a few of different sizes here. So I might need to use these up. We will start with just regular wafer paper. There are a few ways to color wafer paper, and I think we talk about that, but for the most part I either use a little spray bottle, mini mister, where is my mini mister, airbrush, or just dry petal dust. So this is the one I use to color this wafer paper. I just spray it with a little bit of wafer paper conditioner and airbrush color mixed in and let it dry. This one I use the same mini mister. You can see it's a little bit darker, and this color or this shade I used dry petal dust, and that was pink by Saracina. So these are all the wafer papers I have left from different projects I work on. So what we need to do is to punch a lot of wafer paper flowers. So what I do is, for a craft punch, something like this, especially for this brand, they sometimes like they want to misbehave. If your craft punch tears your wafer paper very badly, try to use a piece of foil and just like sharpen your craft punch on a piece of foil. So just like punch a few layers of foil a few times. It will sharpen your craft punch. But for me, I know that I have to be very careful with the placement, and I usually keep it facing me so I can see where my flowers are coming from. And I usually prefer to remove all the flowers and just like work maybe a little bit slower, but cutting all my flowers in 2 layers at the same time, like this. And 2 layers is the highest number of paper I can punch with a craft punch, because if I will take 3 layers, it might break. So you can see it gets stuck sometimes. So I'm just like doing this relatively slow and very mindful. Okay, so a few more. And if you have any questions, let me know, because I'm going to be cutting my wafer paper until my center, my hydrangea center, will dry, so we have time to chat. And for the colored scraps, I usually just discard them, because I have no other usage for the color. It's just like it's not going to be enough wafer paper for me to keep it in the same color. And the only application is to make wafer paper velvet texture, or maybe wafer paper lace with like pink pre-colored wafer paper, but I just don't have the need to keep all my pre-colored scraps. For white scraps, I collect all of them and I use all of them. Also, this looks very lacy and nice if you wanted to apply that onto your wafer paper. And I will start placing these flowers in a different bowls. Usually I prefer to separate them by size, like the largest ones, medium size, and the small ones. because we will have to separate them or like apply on the flour in a different sizes as well, because the larger ones probably will be the first one to go, and from the at the bottom of the flower or hydrangea head, and then the rest will follow up. Okay, I wanted to make pink, and I wanted to add white, and maybe a few small green ones if I will have enough space, or if it's going to look nice. So I'm going to cut my pinks first. There are 4 or 5, I think it's 4 different sizes for that, but usually I just take large, medium, and the rest of them in different bowls, because we would have to shape them a little bit. We would have to give them just a touch more movement, or if we will apply this on the flour like that, it's still like it's too flat for me. Like, at least this is too flat to apply on the flour, and the rest will go into a bowl with a small. Okay, like this, to remove as much extra little pieces as possible. Okay, and the rest is in a trash can. And let's do a few more. Probably a silly question, but can you flavor wafer paper? I imagine it's very bland flavor. So can you spray extracts or simple syrup to add the taste? If you wanted to flavor your wafer paper, the issue with that is if you're going to add any sugar, like simple syrup or something. So I'm working. I'm talking to you, but I'm working and drinking my coffee. If you wanted to flavor wafer paper to very like distinct flavor in terms of making it sweet, the only thing you can do is to add something like flavoring to your wafer paper conditioner. The best one that works for me, I found, is powder colors, because not powder colors, powder flavors. You know those flavors you add to royal icing. Let me see if I have any here. That's the brand, that's the one I use. No, I do not. Yes, here it is. So this is the one I used to flavor my wafer paper. So just like a strawberry extract, but it's a powder flavoring. If you wanted to add any sugar, like simple syrup or something, the issue with that is wafer paper is not going to work the same way, because sugar, like any sweetener, is a humectant as well. Like, even if you're baking, and I assume you're baking, you know that sugar is a wet ingredient. So we always mix our sugar with all the wet ingredients, because sugar melts so quickly, and sugar is considered a wet ingredient. Same with your wafer paper. If you're going to add sugar or sugar syrup or any like sweetener to your wafer paper conditioner, it will attract more moisture. So your wafer paper will either never dry, or it will take a long time for your wafer paper to dry, and it will attract a lot of moisture. So I always tell people, students, that sugar is not your friend when you're working with wafer paper. If you wanted to add any flavoring in terms of smell, any oil-based like Lorraine oils or anything will work in your wafer paper conditioner, or even like clear vanilla extract, anything that alcohol-based will work for your wafer paper conditioner. Just mix it with wafer paper conditioner. But not that many people eat wafer paper in larger quantities. And what I found when I used to make a lot of birthday cakes for kids, they love wafer paper for the taste, because it's almost like you're eating like a waffle or something, and kids love the flavor without any additions, nothing in terms of sugar. So I never had any complaints about wafer paper tasting too bland and people not wanting to eat it because it tastes too bland. And if you are placing your wafer paper decorations on a wedding cake or on a cake in general, on something sweet, it actually adds a beautiful balance. Because if you're eating wafer paper on its own, yeah, it tastes like nothing. It doesn't taste very good. It's like you're eating paper. But if you're adding your wafer paper decorations to a cake is sweet, so you don't have to do anything extra in terms of like coloring or flavoring your wafer paper. Okay, let's try. I don't think we have enough. Should we try to make any hydrangeas to shape them? It still needs time to dry, so it's still going to go there for a moment. And I hope I answered your question. Yes, clear vanilla works, especially if it's alcohol based. It works perfectly. And thank you, Violet, for the punch. Yes, and hello from South Africa. Hello, Australia. Okay, how did you color wafer paper pink? I missed the information. I showed the mini sprayer. So I use a mini sprayer or airbrush. And the ones I punched, this one I use just dry petal dust. So similar method, same thing I use all the time. Let me punch this one as well. Hello Toronto, hello France. Welcome to our Wafer Paper Friday. We're just having fun and chatting about making wafer paper hydrangeas, or at least I'm experimenting with making wafer paper hydrangeas, and the idea I have is to assemble them on a piece of wafer paper. We'll see if it's going to work or not. Now I'm just reusing all the wafer paper scraps I have. But like flowers like these, I have them on hand all the time in all the different shapes and sizes, because this design is like my most used designs for wafer paper, for wedding cakes, and it is featured on my menu. So a lot of people who wanted to have a wafer paper decorations but still want to save a little bit of money on their cakes, I use this method. Hello, hello, hello. The question of the day, as always, if you're watching live or you're watching replay, where you're watching us from and what is your drink of choice. I'm drinking coffee today. I needed a lot of coffee. I put an extra shot of espresso in my coffee. I love coffee and I love espresso, so my coffee is always very strong. But today I needed to put an extra shot. I didn't sleep well, so hello, hello, hello. We are making wafer paper hydrangeas. Not making, we are playing and experimenting. Let's not put a lot of pressure on ourselves. And I was thinking about that today, actually, when I was getting ready for our Wafer Paper Friday. I was thinking about like, okay, but most of the time we just don't have the desire to try something new because it puts a lot of pressure to make it perfect. And that's my idea about teaching, or like not teaching, but being here for our Wafer Paper Fridays, is to experiment, to invite you to experiment with wafer paper and try different things, because you will not get any better until you try. We can watch all the tutorials, we can play with we can buy all the new tools, but until we actually put our hands on wafer, I'm talking about like wafer paper specifically because that's my specialty and that's what I use. But until I can put my hands on wafer paper and test and try and play, nothing is going to happen. So my goal here with Wafer Paper Fridays is to play, experiment, and open myself up to making all the mistakes and entertain you while doing that, because I hope you find this entertaining, me trying to figure things out. Last week we made ranunculus. This week we are making hydrangeas, but this is just an idea, so we'll see if it's going to work or not, because I was thinking about like last week we had this conversation about hydrangeas, and I was thinking how we can make them relatively big and relatively fast compared to making every single flower separately. Okay, I have my hydrangeas here, all the different sizes, and I do separate them by size because I find it's easier to shape them when they are in 3 different sizes. And so these are my 3 sizes. Let's start with the large one, and I wanted to shape them a little bit, so I will take a foam pad like this and bring a bowl tool. So I have a bowl tool, and what I do when I need to shape a lot of these flowers, let's put them on a table, and I will collect all the shaped one here. I place them shiny side up on my foam pot, and like as many as I can fit here. All of them, doesn't matter which color is that. And because I know I don't have to worry about making too much, I will use these flowers in all the different arrangements or decorations, and these might go on cupcakes or even cake pops. So these type of flowers are very useful, and it's the same method I use for my wafer paper design, like applique design on my cakes. So I will use them regardless whether I will need them, all of them today or not. And then what I do is I use a mini steamer to add just a touch of moisture to all of them, just because my environment is just 44% humidity. If I will try to shape them right now, I know they will break because my humidity is very low. Sometimes when my humidity is high, I don't need to do anything, like add any moisture. I can just shape them the way they are. Sometimes, like certain layers, I prefer to add more moisture. Certain layers, I just leave it the way they are. But you can see all the different color variations. That's what I use. Violet asks, did you use Aurora Rose or Sicilia Rose for coloring the wafer paper? I think for the pink ones, I have Aurora Rose here, and I used Saracina pink color. So Saracina pink color is very deep, like this color is Saracina pink, and the other ones are Aurora Rose, the one that's a little bit lighter. But any powder color will work for this application. Okay, so then I will take my bowl tool and just run my bowl tool on all 4 sides very quickly, just giving my wafer paper a little bit of shape. And this doesn't take a long time, especially if you are not talking and just working. You can do a lot of these flowers very quickly. For the large ones, I do run my small bowl tool on all 4 sides because I find it just gives the perfect shape. For the other one, like medium size one or small size, I do not apply bowl tool to all 4, just do like crisscross. Here I like to be a little bit more diligent with my wafer paper. Okay, and if your wafer paper breaks, just add more moisture. You can use either a mini steamer if you don't want to use a mini steamer or you want it to work a little bit faster. You can use a mini spray bottle with the wafer paper conditioner, but make sure that your spray bottle is very fine mist. Sometimes I just like take my spray bottle and spray it, leave it for a few seconds, and then I shape them. So you can see all of them are done here. So I'll place them here first. And because I applied just a touch of moisture, I don't need to apply any cornstarch, and my foam pad, it has enough cornstarch from like previous applications. So my foam pad is relatively seasoned. I don't have to worry about my wafer paper sticking or melting. And for this particular technique, I find that placing my flowers shiny side up works better, just because when you try to curl wafer paper, it curls shiny side curls in. So if you want your flowers to maintain its shape for this particular method, I find that shiny side up works just a touch better. And like this. So I have another foam pot full of Wafer Paper flowers that I'm going to steam a little bit and then shape again. And most of the white flowers, they need a little bit more moisture because my Wafer Paper, like the one last bag of Wafer Paper with Wafer Paper I bought of Amazon, it's so dry. I don't know what is wrong with the brand. It's so as a supply, it's the same Wafer Paper I've been buying all the time, but the last bag was like so dry, it's crumbling dry, and I feel that it needs a little bit more moisture, just even working with the previous batch. Sandra says, here drinking tea, even the end of May. The weather in Belgium is very nasty, and oh, I understand. It was very cold here. It's not very cold. I live in South Carolina, so it should be warm and beautiful, but it was 12 degrees Celsius. I don't know how much is in Fahrenheit in outside. So yeah, I was all wrapped in my blanket this morning. I didn't want to move. It was very cold for me, and I'm drinking hot coffee. But I'm just a hot coffee person. I always drink hot coffees, even when it's 30 degrees, like 100 degrees Fahrenheit. I still going to drink my hot coffee. It's just me. So yeah, again, same application. 4 petals, very easy, fast. And you can make them in advance and keep them in a bag. I usually have all the different sizes and flowers on the side. And if you saw my last reel on Instagram, like the flower applique tutorial I made for Saracina magazine, it's the same method. So it's the same application, but just different use for those flowers. 4 and 4 more. Airbrush is probably my favorite way to color Wafer Paper, especially like how it behaves after. But for me, the fastest way is most of the time just dry petal dust. So most of my Wafer Paper colored with dry petal dust. And you can see how beautiful these babies are. I love Wafer Paper. I actually do love Wafer Paper, and I do love working with Wafer Paper. Okay, let's see. So it's still wet. It's still wet, but it's holding in shape. I'm just waiting for my theme to dry a little bit, and I will work on my medium-sized petals. Medium-sized petals, the same way I'm placing them, at least I'm trying to place them shiny side up, but sometimes when I want it to work faster, I just don't want to worry about that. But if I have time, I will place them shiny side up. I guess it just my vision is giving up on me. I cannot see which side is shiny, which side is bumpy. Like that. And same, like if I'm going to make a design for a wedding cake, because this is the same method again I use for a lot of different applications. If I'm going to make a wedding cake, a dummy cake, and I will have a kitchen cake to supply for the number of servings, usually my kitchen cake will include a few decorations in this style because I always have them on hand and they are so easy to make. I placed a few different like clusters of Wafer Paper flowers, and I put a pearl center and do something like in a cluster, like almost it almost looks like hydrangeas, just a cluster of different flowers. And see, my whites need just a touch more steam. And if you're going to do the same method to understand how much moisture you need to apply, when you're steaming your flowers, they will bend, they will warp a little bit when you're applying moisture. It means that they are absorbing moisture, and some of them just need a little bit more love, and you will be able to see that they get a little bit like, let me see. You can see that this does not lay flat. It's just like warping a little bit and taking itself off of the foam pad. That means you can shape them. Okay. So for the smaller ones, I just run it crease and cross just to make it faster. And I use a small ball tool because it's more comfortable for me. My wafer paper is dry. It needs a little bit more moisture. I can see it breaking. You can see like all these little flowers are breaking, so it might need a little bit more moisture for the small ones. When you color with petal dust, do you fix the color with the steamer before using on wafer paper? No, I don't. I find that wafer paper powder color stick to wafer paper very nicely, so you don't need to do any extra treatment. And especially if you're going to steam your wafer paper after to give it certain shape, like any design, doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be flowers. But if you wanted to give it a little bit of shape, you're still going to steam it, so all the moisture will fix your wafer paper powder color to wafer paper. And same for my sugar flowers. I don't make sugar flowers, but I make foliage using gum paste sometimes because I love the texture. And even for my gum paste, I never steam, I never fix my powder color, simply because I like the look when it's dusty and when it's matte and it's not so flat. Because when you're going to steam it, it just becomes so even, and it is not my style. My style for all my flowers, it's a little bit all over the place, and I love it that way. So I never steam my wafer paper. I never strive for an even color, because if you're going to have even color throughout your cake designs all over, it's going to look flat, in my opinion. It's just for my style, my particular style in cake decorating. Some people create beautiful cakes and arrangement with very limited colors and very like strict white clean lines, and it's just not my style. My style is more all over the place, and it is very intentional. So all my designs, all my cakes, they are designed in a way that it looks like it's a mess, but it's like a very well organized mess. And for me personally, I just like visually, it is my preference for something a little bit more not a kitchen sink, but more abstract in a way, not clean lines, not strict. Even in my house, I prefer for colors to be like more organic, something more flowing and not very distinct palette. Okay, and the little ones. Or should we try to glue the first ones on our wafer paper cone? I'm excited. I'm actually excited. I'm excited to work with I love working with wafer paper, if you can tell. And my coffee is getting cold. It means we are getting closer to the end of the hour. And I'm happy so far with the progress. So, okay, here's my cone. It's still very soft on the bottom, but I will start with applying my flowers here on the side. It's not very beautiful looking, but we'll see. Should we try, right? We should do something fun. We always should strive for doing something fun. Let's take a few large flowers. I think we should start with the large flowers. So what I'm going to do, my idea, this is just my idea, is I'm going to take my wafer paper glue and apply on the back side of the flower, like here, and stick it to my wafer paper cone like this, and do them as many as I can, like next to each other, while they are relatively soft. But again, wafer paper cone, our cone should be very dry to do that, to be able to do that. Let's see, a few pieces at the time, because I wanted to place them very close to each other, all the flowers, so it forms like this beautiful kind of like a melting into each other shape, like that. See what I'm thinking? Like that. And all the different shades of pink should give us this beautiful texture. What do you think? I think it's working. I'm going to turn this off. So if I'm going to place all of them together, and my cone is white, if I would use pink wafer paper, it probably will be just invisible on my wafer paper cone. And same, I will color it like the bottom part and everything. I think it's working. I am very excited, but I think it's working. And I will make more of the same like colors of wafer paper. Okay, let's do it this way. All the little ones here. And I wanted to use different shades of wafer paper all together. So on an arrangement, it's going to look more realistic than just flat one color all together. Okay, let's see. Should we do the bottom part? Let's put it here for the darker. But I think on the bottom part, I would put a few more green ones, because wafer paper is not wafer paper, hydrangeas, they do bloom from green to pink to different shades. So maybe like this, all of this together. Let's see if we can add a few medium size so I can cover like one side of wafer paper. It is looking good. And for size or for head of wafer paper hydrangea, this size, I think we spent a decent number of time for the way it looks. Okay, let's do a few of the medium sized ones, because I wanted to see how they will transition into each other with the medium size and a large size next to each other. So for the medium size, I will grab them as well, like place them here. Yeah, I think we onto something. I'm not mad about that. Maybe a few more pieces of white, or like make a better cone out of wafer paper. But that's where we are at. Where's my camera? So I and it looks good in terms of the time and cost too. Yes, and I think two sheets of wafer paper will cover whole thing, so you can make something like this out of 2 sheets of wafer paper. And I was a little bit ambitious with the size of my wafer paper cone, but I wanted to make a larger head of wafer paper hydrangeas just to see if I like it. But you can make them in different shapes and sizes for sure, just me being ambitious as always. Yeah, but even like, I think you can even make 2 hydrangeas out of 2 sheets of wafer paper, because I have a lot of petals left. And it's just fun, to be honest, it's just so fun to do. I think they are just so much fun. And then we have a few small ones that we can do the same, like we can apply tiny flowers here and there to make them finish our design. And I probably should use a pair of tweezers. Where are my tweezers? Because it might be a little bit easier to pick it up and just like shove it inside. Where is it? Here, like that, to make it stand out. Okay, I have an idea. What if I'll take just a touch of wafer paper glue, here. Instead of gluing applying wafer paper glue to every single one, then I can take a pair of tweezers, dip it into a wafer paper glue, and stick it onto my flower. So I have a few larger ones, so it will go even faster than just gluing every single one by hand. See? It is very fun. It's just so much fun to do. And all the different combinations of all the different flowers, like that. Yeah. I think few more medium-sized ones here. Like here. And I honestly do think that it needs a touch of green just to break the color, how flat it looks, because it's all pink and it's all white. I think if I would do this again, I will use more white, and I will use maybe a combination of white and blue, because just right now it looks a little bit more flat. So let's see if on this side I will use more white in combination with the pink, because maybe pink as an accent color will work, but not as a main color, or maybe not this exact shade of pink. Just touch more. I think it needs more flexibility and flow to these colors. Okay, so. And it does go very fast if you do this preparation thing before with all the flowers and shaping. Here, and then you can stick them all together. Like that. Yeah, so I think more white and less pink. See on this side, maybe a few more pinks here just to break the pattern. Little ones here. It does look fancy. Yes. And okay. I do like it. I do like it. It needs a little bit more time to dry for the base, so I can cover the base as well. But I think it is coming together. Like this. Can you imagine something like this one on a flower arrangement? It does look ahead of hydrangea flowers. Let's see what I can do next is to add a few more petals here and there, and tiny little green leaves poking out in between the flowers. But for hydrangea, if we are talking about nature inspired, hydrangeas have larger leaves, but I have a tiny piece of wafer paper and in green wafer paper. So I think I will punch a few wafer paper flowers in green and see if I can place them in between just to break the pattern. So we'll do just the top layer. You can see top two sizes in green. And this wafer paper is colored with airbrush. I'm so mindful about the amount of wafer paper I use, because this is the last piece of wafer paper, green wafer paper I have. But now I have a few pieces in green. I'm going to shape them as well, because I do think it needs a different color. Like for every single flower I make, for most of the flowers I make, I go for at least 3 different shades, 3 different colors to make it look more dimensional. 2 colors are too flat for my liking. Even if I'm making wafer paper flowers in white, I'm still going to use ivory and green, or pink and violet, or something like different shades. So white will be my base, and then 2 other shades. I can use ivory. My favorite probably would be ivory and green, because it needs dimension. like, think about that, like we have highlights and we have lowlights. We have darker shades, we have lighter shades. We have our base shape and two different dimensional shades. For our face, for everything we do, we have base color, darker shade, and a lighter shade as the highlights and lowlights. Or like light and shadow, basically, is the same idea. In photography, in cake designs, is the same. You do anything you do with color. 3 is the color to go for, even if you don't know what you're doing. Because trust me, most of the time I have no idea what I'm doing with my life. Okay, let's see. Pink or green. Will it help us to break the pattern? Oh yes. Oh yes. I love it. I love it. See? Just a touch of green here and there to break the darker pink color. Like here, in between colors. Oh my god, it's just like, it's coming to life. With a touch of, smallest touch of green color. So I would put all the whites on top and then all the darker colors on the bottom. Maybe like this. Yes. Now I love it. I loved it before, but now I'm just like obsessed with that. I am I am obsessed with Wafer Paper. I don't know what is wrong with me, but I am obsessed. But look at the shading. Just a few pieces of green takes it to a new next level. And I will finish this up and I will put it all together. So if you have any questions, ask them, because I will continue working on this thing here and applying all my flowers. I don't want to cut any extra, so I will use everything I have here. And I think 2 sheets of Wafer Paper, if you make this hat a little bit smaller, 2 sheets of Wafer Paper will yield you 2 hydrangeas or 1.5 hydrangeas for sure. So I think like just a touch smaller. And on the bottom here, a few layers. And I'm going from larger to smaller just because that's how it grows in nature. The older petals are the largest. Too much Wafer Paper glue. Okay. But again, I would never apply Wafer Paper glue on Wafer Paper cone and then stick all the flowers, because it will be like too much moisture and Wafer Paper might melt just because of the amount of liquid here. And another one here at the base. So the base is covered, and let's do the medium size and see how many flowers I have left. I have a lot of flowers left here, so I'm like barely making any indentations in the amount of flowers I have here. And let me see if I have any white ones pre-made in my little box. No, all of them are pink. I thought maybe I have white ones not to cut them. Okay. But okay, let's make a few more for the center here. And dipping, like picking up your petal with the pair of tweezers and just dipping into Wafer Paper glue goes a little bit faster than applying that with a brush every single time. But if you prefer to do it differently, feel free. This is just what I do and what works for me. doesn't have to be exact same for you. And if you watched me doing other things, you know that I'm very business minded and very business oriented in terms of making money in my business and not just making wafer paper flowers. And that's one of the reasons why I learned cake decorating and discovered wafer paper and started playing with wafer paper and developed all these methods working with wafer paper, just because I wanted to work faster and make more money in my business than just sugar paste. Because at that time, like 10 years ago when I started, sugar flowers were all the rage and people were doing sugar flowers or gum paste flowers most of the time. But that didn't work for me. Because I lived in Florida and humidity in Florida is different, because I didn't like spending so much time and money on making gum paste, and I started playing with wafer paper. And at that time, 10 years ago, no one worked with wafer paper making flowers. Everyone used that for printing on wafer paper or using like different decorations. And that's how I developed my method. I tried everything. I tried all the conditioners you can buy on the market, and none of them worked for me in Florida specifically. I needed to do something different. Okay, that's beautiful. I think, if I can be honest, it is very beautiful flower. Okay, see, I have a few spots left, but I wanted to add more green color if I have any. And you can definitely make, if I will make this again, and I will make this again because it's way easier than I expected, and it's so beautiful and gorgeous and full and just like so fluffy. Yes, green is mandatory. I would say that green is mandatory because it needs more green somewhere in between all these beautiful fluffy petals. But when I'm going to do this again, so a few things I might do differently is to, I will use more white, because I think that like white, like this side where I have more white and more green, looks more realistic than fully pink, because this color looks too flat. It looks like the same color, and that's it. I love it. I love it. I will do this again and again and again. Then I would have to tape my stem with floral tape, and maybe if I wanted to give it a longer stem, maybe I would use two 20 gauge wires, because this is 20 gauge wire. One 20 gauge wire, if it's going to be a longer stem, it might not be enough. Even though it's enough, it is standing straight, but just like the heaviness, it doesn't weigh anything. But maybe if I'm going to use it in a flower arrangement, I would use two 20 gauge wires to hold it all together. So you can see our beautiful hydrangea. Yes, blue. So I will make another one in blue with white and green, and this is an airbrush green, but it's very light shade. I think even if you're going to use powder color and apply powder color on your wafer paper, would look nicely. I just need to airbrush more wafer paper in green. And I didn't use any tools, or the same craft punch. The only tool I used is a craft punch, but I've been using the same craft punch 1,000 times in all the different designs, and I think it's a great investment, and you will be able to use it again and again and again. And I started buying this brand specifically because it locks. So you can lock it, you can see it, like it opens, but you can lock it and it doesn't take that much space in your storage. I have all the different colors by this brand. Let me see if I have my blue. Yes. So the same method for using the same flowers, same colors. And I like a lot of my designs or cake designs are using the same method. So these are the same flowers. Let me show you. Like that. These are the same flowers. You can see they are just stacked differently, and I used non-perils and I used a touch of green in terms of leaves, but these are the same wafer paper flowers, the same wafer paper combinations. The other option is I made it in blue, and this blue was for, it's like for my clients when I have a design session with a client, and especially if it's a high-end or expensive wedding cake, I give them a sample. Not give them a sample, I show them a sample, because most of them have no idea how it's going to look on a cake. This one was in my bag for too long. Let me fix it. So she wanted to have an all different shades of blue and different variations of blue, and I made this sample for a cake. So this design is going to be on a cake, on a larger cake, but same wafer paper. This is just a touch of pearl and wafer paper craft punch, and leaves are gum paste and branches are gum paste, and my edible wafer paper sequence. So if you saw my tutorial, I have it on somewhere on Instagram, how to make edible sequins. I made them for this specific design. And same color, these are same 4 petal flowers we did today, just in a different shade. But I think for Wafer Paper hydrangeas, this shade of blue, this is Forget Me Not Blue by the Crystal Colors, by the Crystal Colors. But you can tell that using one simple tool, you can make different things out of wafer paper. All of this is wafer paper, and that's what I love it so much. And wafer paper can be very versatile for all the application, different colors, different things. If you are a member of our Wafer Paper Academy, next week we are making the texture on that cake. I'm going to show you like torn paper with bas relief. This is what we are going to do live inside the Wafer Paper Academy. So hydrangeas page 22 if you wanted to look at a different tutorial for our hydrangeas. And thank you for joining me live for our Wafer Paper Friday, and I see you next week. Bye!